Good afternoon, Crystal. How are you?
I'm well, and yourself?
I'm great. It's been an eventful morning, and
I see.
I, I, um, I, uh, I didn't get your bio. So talk amongst yourselves.
Okay, so as you all know, if you've been tuned in, I am Krista Mitchell. I'm a business coach and consultant for the small business, micro and macro community. And I've been doing this for about 30 years, and my specialty is financial strategy and structure. And so I'm here. I'm glad to be here.
We're so happy that you're here. I've just pleased as punch, and you know, except for that horrible display of lack of professionalism, we've got a wonderful thing to talk about. I'm Jevon Thomas. I'm a retirement plan advisor, and today we want to talk about retirement readiness from the point of view of participants actually getting there. One of the things that we have been sort of stuck on here as of late is that a retirement plan should be something that helps the employer actually manage that business, reach their organization goals. Because it is, but let me back up and say it is a retirement plan. And so last week we talked about it should do more, right? It should be more than just a plan out there. So this week and for the next couple of weeks, you're going to talk a little bit more on what that plan should do and what things mean when you have a plan, right?
Mhm.
So we're going to kick that off by taking a look at um, some of the some of the things that people rely upon when it comes to having a plan. And one of those things is participation. Um, you know, you've worked in plans before, and you know that, or you probably know that um, when a plan has 70% or more participation, we say that they're effective,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
That doesn't mean anything with regard to are the people actually reaching their retirement goal? And I know that's a big thing for us here on this particular broadcast is okay, how do I get to retirement? Right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a retirement plan, but what does that mean to me? And as we were talked about a couple of, well, maybe sort of a month ago, if we've got kids and a dog and parents and PTA and all these things going on in our life, should we be able to retire, right? Or do we need to become investment gurus? So for this time and for the next couple of times, we're going to talk about how those metrics actually work for a plan sponsor. So I think the first thing we want to say is number one, the first point is going to be um, enrollment measures activity,
Right.
but not necessarily outcome, right?
Mm.
So, right? So it's good to
Right.
get people in the plan. Yay. Because we have to start somewhere. But are those participants able to reach their retirement goal? Right.
Right.
So that's one right there. So, uh, and if we talk a little bit about what's going on, if we automatically enroll people in the plan, and if we do that, we have to, in general, we have to make sure they're enrolled at a particular level. It's very easy for some participants to say or to think, okay, the employer has got me enrolled at 3% or at 4%. My retirement is taken care of.
Hmm.
I don't need to do anything else. Or, like some people I know, I'm only going to get the employer match. So if I put in 5 and the employer puts in 4, that puts me at 9. I don't need to do any more. I think we should
Yeah.
use that as a clip. If I put in 5 and the employer puts in 4, I should be good. Really, really.
But wouldn't that be based upon what their needs, what their retirement needs are? So That would be very conservative. That would be very what would be the word? It may not meet their needs.
It may not meet their needs. They could put all this money away for retirement, think that they're doing okay, and get to the end of their working career and all of a sudden find out, oh, if I had increased my contributions by 1 or 2%, I would have dramatically more money and I'd be able to retire with dignity. Now, I'm not in that situation.
No,
So something has to be there to say, hey, you're enrolled. Hey, you're enrolled at this amount. Are you going to be able to reach your retirement dream? And here's the deal, most companies that I deal with have calculators that help you do that, right? They help you say, okay, you're on track or you're not on track. And when you get to meeting with employers, many employers I work with say, okay, how many of my participants are on the way to reach their retirement goal? Or how many of my participants are on the way to reach a retirement goal? Is it
right.
40%? Is it 50%? Is it 60%? Okay. So enrollment is something that measures activity. Start a new line later, all of that costs money. So the employer is making an investment, a real investment when they bring on a retirement plan, right?
Exactly.
Even if you're in a white collar world, right? You still have to get ready for the meeting. You still have to shut down your laptop and what have you. And then you got to get back into the workflow, right? We already
Right.
did that when we came to work. Now you got to go through all of that again to get back into work to get up to speed. That's expensive for the employer. So if you're an employer, I'm just going to say it right now. I think this is a good thing for a clip as well. Uh, Real progress requires movement. After you have that meeting, are we going to be able to judge how many people joined the plan? How many people increased their contributions? How many people looked at the retirement plan company's website and said, "Hey, I am on track," or "Hey, no, I'm not on track." Right? I see a lot of magazines where people are saying or asking the question, "Are you on track to reach your retirement goal?" And I have to admit, Crystal, I think a lot of employers go or employees say, "I don't have time to worry about that. I
Mm.
just don't." Right? Um, and I think that's where they are. And at one time I was up on my high horse, and I would say to folks, yeah, it's pretty high. I would say to folks, get in the plan, get in the plan. You need to take responsibility for your retirement. The reality of the situation is we got a lot going on as employees,
Yeah, we do.
right? So we really need some help with regard to taking care of our responsibilities. And employers have, in a lot of ways, stepped up to do that, but they can't do it alone. You know what I
No,
mean?
they can't. But last week we kind of also spoke about that the advantage for the employer, because mostly we know that the employer is putting in the plan for basically his retirement or her retirement, right? But if we're going to invest in our employees, which is definitely an investment, so that you can actually have better performance and better outcomes for the business itself, then this is, I think, one of the part of those coordinates to it. It's not. It's far more. Running a business is far more than just you selling your widget, right?
Yep.
Somebody has to sell and move the widget along
Yep.
through the process in the office, right? So
Mhm.
those someones are those people that are your employees, and so that investment into their plan, into making sure that their future is also secure. So therefore,
Mhm.
not your future is secure.
Yep.
So it's a win-win situation. Should be a win-win situation for everyone.
Yeah. Well, I love win-win, and I'm so glad that you're bringing this up because that's becoming the major thrust of my business, and that is, as much as I love retirement plans because I love the idea of employees reaching their retirement goal, and that's retirement plan business jargon. I love the idea of employees having enough money in their retirement plan so that they can actually live on their retirement. They can retire with dignity, you know,
Right.
with the caveat that that's not the only thing they've got going on, right? You have your retirement plan, you have your Social Security, let's hope. You have your investments outside of the retirement plan, you have your home, you have other assets. So we're not just relying just upon the retirement plan. That's not the end all be all. That's just one piece of the puzzle with regard to your whole retirement situation. So
Right.
that's fine. Okay. But I think one of the things that we in this industry fail um, to take account or fail to bring up or fail to talk about is how does the retirement help the business owner themselves? How does it help that organization? And more so, how do we design the retirement plan so that it's going to help the organization? And at the same time, as you so eloquently suggested, win-win for the employee. Why is it that we can't help both of them? I don't have to have an adversarial relationship. Okay, so let's
Right.
talk about what happens if we don't, right? What happens if we don't consider the employer? We've got some issues. Number one, we've got a workforce planning issue. It could be very difficult to judge when people are coming in and when people are coming out if they're not ready to retire because they're going to work a little bit longer,
Right.
right? Okay,
Yes.
if they're going to work a little bit longer, if they're going to work a little bit longer and you've got X amount of dollars for your payroll, that's going to delay that younger person coming in.
Yeah, it is.
Makes sense? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So now we have a workforce management problem. Okay. After that, we got to think, what about succession planning? Let's say I'm not a huge organization. Let's say I'm a medium to large size organization, and we run the numbers and we look at, oh, you have an organization that has 70, 80% of your employees that are over the age of 50 because nobody retires from your organization because they don't have enough money to do that. So if I'm going to buy this business and all these employees are going to come with it, I'm going to have to deal with all this Medicare, Medicaid, insurance, all that happy horse. I'm going to have to deal with all of that because
Yeah.
you don't have any 20-year-olds or 30-year-olds or 40-year-olds in your business. Or the
Right.
other way around. The other way. What
Yeah.
if you only have 20-year-olds and 30-year-olds in your business? Everybody's going to be having kids all the time? I got to pay. That's going to be expensive,
It is.
right? That's money. So,
Probably
that's
more expensive than the other way around with the older
just
people.
might be. It just might be. And then, okay, let's take a look at morale, right? If you work for a company for 30 years and you still can't retire, I mean, that's going to get around the coffee table or the office lounge. That's going to get around there. There's going to be some upset people talking about their finances.
Right.
And we all know that upset people talking about their finances, that doesn't stop at the office, right? That goes home. And now I've got, in addition to all my other stresses I have when it comes to feed my family or my spouse and I feeding my family, we're going to have those discussions about not having enough money, which is going to make stress come into the job, which is going to make you less of a performer. So now we're looking at productivity, right?
Yeah.
And who wants to go to a job where the boss doesn't care about them?
Exactly.
Right? Who wants to do
Yeah.
that? Especially if your competition does,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
I hear a lot of employers talking about, okay, I'm going to put this retirement plan together. And the first thing they say is, we want to be competitive in the retirement plan space. Really? You want to be competitive? And I know some folks are going to look at me. I'm going to get cards and letters. But if you want to be competitive, is that the same as helping your employees reach the retirement goal? Because competitive means you get the participation. Competitive means you get the match. Competitive doesn't mean that I'm reaching my retirement goal and I'm going to be happy and I'm going to tell everybody I know, you ought to work here, you ought to buy these products, whatever, because I'm happy to work here. because this guy is treating me well, or this lady knows what it is to actually have to feed a family on the income that I'm making and save for retirement. But we're all part of this business.
Right.
You know what I mean? So there's a lot of things that are going to happen to that employer in a good way if they move people through the organization. People look at me strange when I say that, but if you have an organization that's going to be going long after you, which a lot of people hope when they pass it down or when they leave or what have you, you want to make sure that people come into that organization, they contribute, and then they leave on time,
Yeah.
happy.
Exactly. And when they're leaving, they have no problem because they're happy to be leaving because they know they can live after retirement. They have no problem transferring that mind trust or that brain trust that they've acquired over that 30 years to a replacement. But
Oh, you mean like a mentor program, perhaps,
well,
or like
a
a
mentor program as
part-time
well, but
program or something like that?
yeah, because when your employee's been with you for 30 years or more, uh, they know a lot about how the company operates. They have all the historical data. They know what has been successful and what has not been successful, right? And they've pretty much ironed out all of the kinks. But when they leave, if that information doesn't translate down and just the basics of how the company operate, the operation manual is not going to give you insight to stuff that took place over 30 years. It's only going to give you, this is what the widget we make, this is the process we get the widget to the customer. We don't know who our top end customers are, or you don't. That
Right.
other person does, right? They know who, and they know how to engage with them. They know all the gatekeepers. They know all of that. So if that
Hmm.
does not get transferred down to the next person in line that's taking their place, then that person's starting from scratch. So that means there's major errors going to take place while
Hello.
on the learning curve. That's
Yep.
right.
Right. And if we could just stay there for just one moment, because that is an excellent point. If I'm working for this firm for 30 years, 25 years, let's say,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not happy, I don't
Mm.
think the employer cares about me. I don't think I don't think I'm going to look at a retirement that's going to be okay for me. And the employer could have just said a little bit of something so I could make that happen, right? He didn't have to put more money in. I could have done that. If I'm not happy, what do you think I'm going to tell those other employees?
I'm not happy.
I'm not
And
happy.
this
You
is a
can work here.
horrible company to work
Yeah.
for.
Yeah. You can work here for 30 years if you want to, but don't think you're going to retire. That's not good,
You're right.
right? That's not good. So, having a retirement plan is something that the employer has to, number one, consider it. Number two, if they do go that way, then it's on them. They are the ones with the fiduciary responsibility to operate that plan in the best for the best advantage of the participants. That's big. You have
Yeah.
to operate the plan for the benefit of the participants. That's huge. So the employer is making that commitment. The employer makes that commitment, and then they look at performance goals, and those performance goals measure activity but not outcome. I love that line. They measure how many people are in the plan. They measure how many people are making this much of a contribution. They measure how many people are taking out loans, but they don't measure how many people are actually reaching their retirement goal. And if I'm going to spend time and money on a meeting to educate these folks, how effective is it? So, and I have to say, I'm guilty. Back in the day, we couldn't even get people to invest. So if you could just put behinds in chairs, maybe that was a good thing, right? Um, and now we've come a long way. Now we've come to the point where, okay, we're committed to putting the people in the chairs.
Right.
But how does this help my organization grow? And as you were about to point out before I stole it from you, the employer and the employee are on the same side of the coin here, right? What helps
Yes.
the employer helps the employee and vice versa. So how do we create this win-win situation for both parties so that this plan is a good plan for the organization and it's a good plan for the participants. How do we do that?
Exactly.
Yeah. And that's when
Exactly.
you call someone like myself. Small plug. So good. Okay. So
But
if I'm an employer, I'm going to be asking some questions. Number one, what percentage of my employees receive the full company match? That's one, right?
yes,
Number two, how many of my employees um, increase their savings every year? Right, like, so let's say they get a raise every year. Do they take that raise out and do something with it, or they just leave it in the plan and let it contribute more? Right?
mm,
Yeah. How many of my employees have actually gone onto the website and done a projection of what their retirement can look like if they increase, decrease, or stay the same? And how am I encouraging that? I would go one
right.
step later. I would go and say, hey, I mean, I don't want to get all up in your business, but have you sat down with your spouse and said, what's your retirement going to look like? Right?
And how many do you think, being that you've been doing this for a while, how many times do you think that conversation actually is had?
I'd say it's been had very few times. And
Okay.
I'll tell you why. I don't think it's because people are not interested in their retirement. I think folks have a lot of stuff going on. And I think by the time we get to retirement, they just don't have the energy left. And so I think a lot of people just want to say, hey, I'm giving some money here. I'm giving some money. I can't give money to everybody.
Right,
And to that, I would say you shouldn't give every money. You shouldn't give money to everybody, but you should take care of yourself first.
right.
You
No,
should,
for sure.
right, you should do that. So I think people come by it honestly, and I think as a retirement plan advisor, I think many of the folks, myself included, we want to turn people into investors. We want to turn people into folks who can manage their money because when you get right down to it, no one's going to take care of your money better than you. But if we make it so complicated that uh, we don't meet people where they are and we don't help them along, then in a way we're guilty of not helping them reach their retirement goal,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
It would be like saying to someone, hey, you've got two broken legs. When you finish running this race, there's a great prize for you at the end. You got two broken legs. You're not running that race. Right? You have some concerns there, right? And then I think most importantly out of all this, because I am a retirement plan advisor, the question would be how many employees think they're on track to reach their retirement goal? How many of them have actually heard, hey, I can check this out? We used to say, hey, you know what? I got a pension, so I don't have to worry about that. There's a lot of places where the voters of the county or the city determine what that pension is going to be. I mean, you can hold up your sign and say you made the deal, but if the money's not there, the money's not there. So, what are you doing to protect yourself with regard to your retirement? And do you know?
Yeah. And that's important because, again, a lot of times if the employer, if this is not something that they're really, concentrating on, even they run into the factors like, I really need to retire because I'm burnt, but I can't, right? Um, so only thing at that point that I may be able to do is sell my business because I can't bring anybody else in because I just can't keep doing this, right? So, then a really major decision has to be made. So I think
Good
all the
point.
way around, um, the focusing on it's kind of like for as me as a business consultant, whenever I'm coaching entrepreneurs, I'm always saying, okay, what's the exit strategy? Because even though you're here at the front line, you still got to have an exit strategy because that's going to help you better plan the trajectory of your business.
Mm-hmm.
Because your exit strategy is a main part of your retirement because entrepreneurs don't think they're ever going to retire. And that's why they don't,
Yeah.
because they don't have an exit strategy or they haven't taken the time to set up that retirement plan, especially if they've been a entrepreneur for at least a good 40 years of their life, which means they only had a small, from college to when they started their business, that was only a small number of years of investing. So really all they have is whatever they have in their social security. And that certainly is not enough to live on.
Mhm.
Right. So
Well
there's
said.
a whole lot of there's a on the back end of this, you know,
Oh,
too late to make the change. So all through that process, all through your working life, you need to be concentrated on what's the exit strategy.
that's so smart. And I graduated from school with a business degree. That was hammered into us. You have to have an exit strategy. I don't think anybody ever did it. I don't know any business owners that have exit strategies, but the words are not foreign. And I think part of the reason for that is you know, in many situations, we're just lucky to get the paycheck. We're
Yeah.
just fortunate to pay some bills now. We just want to go on vacation. We just want to every now and then take our spouse out to dinner, or every now and then go to take our kids someplace. We just want to live. And God bless them. Can't somebody else take care of this? I mean, can't somebody else help me out here, right? I think there's a lot of people that are feeling, right? I
Yeah.
need some help here, and I can't blame them because things are complicated. But I hate to say that. I hate saying I believe in actuality that things have never been easy and simple. Retirement has never been one of those things that you could put off and not prepare for it. We had some familial structures perhaps that helped in that situation. But I don't care if everybody in your family is working, you can still be in a situation where there is no money and you can't retire.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I mean, it happens.
A lot of
That's
lot of
why,
people, a lot of people are in that position.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why that brings up, and then we can close here. But that's why I want to start having professionals in the business, in all kinds of businesses, come and talk with us about retirement from their point of view, from the point of view of a financial planner, from the point of view of an accountant, from the point of view of someone who works with Medicare and Social Security, that kind of thing. We're going to start doing that on a regular basis because as much as my sage advice um, is landing on the ears of people who want and need information, there are lots of professionals out there that we need to be able to talk to and reach out to. So um, we're gonna start.
And I think we're in a day and age where there's so much information, but because there is so much information that the average person is overwhelmed. And so I think you do have to be very intentional for things that are vitally important to individuals that are not like ourselves. Part of our business is research and staying on top of whatever the current trends are. But just me, I interact with clients every day,
Mhm.
and a lot of them have left their jobs so that they can create businesses. But far as how, if they have pension plans or 401ks or anything that could actually sustain them possibly while they're going through this journey, they don't. And
Mm.
so everything is, this business has to take off like right now. And that's not a reality. That's not realistic, because that's not how it happens. And so for having those conversations as to where they want to go and how they want to get there, we got to first start at the beginning. And so, yeah, most of them do not have retirement plans
Or
and
exit strategies.
or exit strategies, and they may be in their 40s, which you got only about 25, 30 years before you retire. And in this day and age, as fast as time moves, that's not a lot of time. And based upon wherever the economy situation is at the time, in that span of time, right? Because if it requires, like it is right now, every dime that you have, then you may not still not have enough, and that's why I think they, as a retirement plan readiness expert here, is because things happen in between all of that, and so how do you adjust for those things that happen to you that can derail you? I just had a client recently. We've been working on her progression, and we had a plan and everything. And what happened? She got pneumonia, and she wasn't able to work like she normally does. So now she's behind in her expenses, and so now before we can even get back to the plan, we got to come up with some interim stuff
Sure.
that can bring her current. And so so just that stuff. That's what happens in my world. You get sick and you don't have all the safeguards that you would have if you were working at a company. And
Well said. Well
right?
said.
So that's the issue, and that we're talking the boss. That's the employer. Things like that even happen to him, right, or her,
Yeah.
because they haven't put the right things in place to protect themselves and their
And
future.
it happens, as an entrepreneur or a solopreneur myself. You're building your business, you let some things go. And next thing you know, 10 years goes by, you still haven't addressed those things.
Right.
Right. So you're making a really good point.
Yeah.
But I think we're going to call it
Okay.
there right now. And I'm going this time, instead of you telling people who you are, I'm going to tell people who you
Oh,
are.
really?
I have the bio. So, everyone, I want to thank you for listening to On the Patio. We've been talking about our theme participation is not progress, but I'd like to leave you with an introduction to my friend and colleague, Krista Mitchell. She is a business coaching consultant. She's the CEO of Mitchell Business Solutions, co director of Recycling Black Dollars, co host of that other business radio show, the Business Zone with Crystal and Gilbert, on weekly. So please find that. Instructor at Mount San Antonio Community College. She's also a certified network for teaching entrepreneurship instructor. And if I'm not mistaken, just finished up some competitions for young people, which went pretty well, I think, right?
It
Just a
did. It
year
went
ago.
excellent.
And last but not least, a QuickBooks Pro Advisor financial strategist. Crystal, always a pleasure, ma'am.
All righty. Everyone have a great weekend. Try to stay cool wherever you are. And we will see you next week.
Indeed. Y'all be good now.